My name is Rebecca Tate, and I'm a choreographer, outdoor educator, and project manager here at the Norwegian BioArt Arena, NOBA, which is Vitenparken's art department. I'm facilitating this artist talk on behalf of our director, CEO Solveig Arnesen, who could not be here today in person. NOBA is a platform for art that engages with the living world with questions and methods from the sciences. We want to stimulate public interest and spread knowledge about relevant social challenges linked to the environment, to life sciences and climate change through artistic and interdisciplinary practices. Today, on the UN International Day for Biological Diversity, the UN's call to action to encourage support for the biodiversity plan and an opportunity for us to celebrate the web of life on Earth, we are delighted to host this particular artist talk, Ecology and Decolonizing Art Practices, from Palestine via Tate Modern to a queer dive in the Aegean Sea, with artist and Dr. Gil Mualem-Doron. Gil is an award-winning transdisciplinary artist, researcher, and curator with more than 20 years of social and political work, starting his journey as an activist, creating public interventions and participatory projects. His background is from art history, architecture, and curatorial studies. And in 2016, he founded the Socially Engaged Art Salon, SEAS, in Brighton, now a not-for-profit community company promoting socially engaged art. SEAS has curated over 30 exhibitions, and Gil's work has been featured at renowned venues such as Trafalgar Square, Tate Modern, and internationally as well across the USA, Europe, and beyond. I will let Gil tell you more about the issues that he investigates in the work. He is opening an exhibition here at NOBA on Saturday, which he will also speak more about, that I encouraged everyone to come and see. It is my great pleasure to hand the word over to artist Gil Mualem-Doron.
Thank you all for coming and actually staying inside when the sunshine is out. Spring 2010, Udayamit Street in Jaffa is blocked. Barriers have been placed alongside the pavement, cutting off the road. It is now no man's land. For a moment, the mythical sand dunes from which Tel Aviv supposedly arose have been moved and now cover this part of Jaffa. Archaeologists have been called in to dig and document, but they don't tell the neighbors whatever they finding there. If they recovered some broken myth or found Joanna's sandals. Even if they do, the last cobbler in this street has been already closed down his shop, unable to afford the rent increase. Udayamit isn't just a street, it is a myth. It was paved during the British Mandate as the main road to Jaffa Old Harbor. Until 1948, it was called Faisal after the king of Iraq. The name of the street was changed after the Israeli forces occupied Jaffa. Hardly any street in Israel has names after Iraqi dignitaries, even those who are Arab Jews. My father is of Iraqi origin. He left his homeland together with almost half of Baghdad population who were Jewish, including members of parliament, businessmen, doctors, and musicians. After a few years in Israel, which was founded by European Jews, he felt obliged to change his family name from Mualem, which means Arabic teacher, to Doron, which means present in Hebrew. The Israeli-sounding name is connected to the biblical name my father's family had until 200 years ago. However, the erasure of the Mualem, which refers to my great-grandfather's profession, hurts me like a phantom pain. The name Yehuda Yemit, Judah of the Seafarer, was borrowed from a Roman coin allegedly minted after the victory of the Romans over the Jewish seafarer during the First Jewish-Roman War, 66 to 74 AD. Although this sea battle is described by Josephus and may have occurred in reality, and although similar coins have been minted to celebrate other Roman victories in this war, this one was declared by experts to be fake in 1872. Was the month-long excavation of the street designed to conceal this fact? In any case, once the gap between reality and myth was covered up, a dead zone was left between the two sides of the fence. Fed up with this state, the street residents and shop owners decided to take it over. I go downstairs from my flat through a staircase window above the sand dunes, a real estate agency sign, declare homeland sold. I look down. The street is full of people, families, and children. Neighbors stand on the balconies and gaze down like me. On the temporary fence alongside the street, many artists have hung works. Most of the artists live on the street. Opposite Café Dina, the design shops and even the containers have trespassed beyond their own territory, and tables have been placed along the pavement laden with delicacies made by the street cooks. In two spaces where the street widens, creative workshop for children take place. Some of the children actually prefer to climb and slide on the sand dunes and build sandcastle in the street, which has become a big sandbox. In between the sandcastle, Oriental dancers start performing, and after them, an intimate rock concert takes place. I lift my eye from the ground, and the homeland sign floats above like a black and yellow radioactive cloud. The sign, and many other like it, have sprouted up over the last several months on many of the balconies in the neighborhood, brooding like raptors awaiting their prey. I return to the flat and remember the rug I found a few days ago in the attic. A carpet is an interesting object. On the one hand, it connotates a pleasant meeting over a cup of Turkish coffee and baklava. On the other, it is precisely demarcated, well-defined domain. A rug is a reproduction of a garden, which in itself it's a simulation of Eden. Different from the street, it is a territory that requires invitation. It is a space from which one can be evicted. The carpet from my attic stopped functioning as a place a long time ago. Echoing olden times, it looked like if it used to belong to a previous tenant, forced out by the increase of the rents, or even before that, to a family who lived here until May 1948 and who left it behind. I washed the rug with boiling water, degradant, and when it is cleaned, I copy the word homeland sign and create a cutout of the word home. I go downstairs, and while greeting my neighbors along the pavement, I enter the no man's land in between the two fences. The musical performance stops. I climb on top of one of the dunes and unpack hundreds of colorful light sticks, which I plant in the sand hill. The desert, which was constructed by both the archaeological excavation and Western Zionist imaginary, is now blooming with lights. With seconds, a group of children occupy the hill and pick up the glowing plastic flowers, waving them, precising that the storm is about to come. On a further hill, I place the homeland carpet. It is still wet from the laundry and reek of bleach. I immerse the letter home in turpentine to get rid of the smell and set them ablaze. When the home is burned out and only black ashes are left, I shake the carpet and hang it up. A pure misoological act. Although the home shaped tears and hollows, the fence can be clearly seen. The title of this talk is Ecology and Decolonizing Art Practices. And you may ask what ecology has with colonialism. This is easy to answer. Colonialism changed the landscape of many places around the world, especially in the global south. It's produced extractivism. It's to do with, or even born from, destructive capitalism. However, contrary to the popular belief, colonialism is not the entity of ecology. It's not the one that's ruining ecology. In fact, it is the process that enforce ecology or even create ecology. It can be argued that ecology as a concept is actually the foundation of capitalism, of colonialism, of racism, heteronormativity, and misogyny. The term ecology is derived from the Greek word ekos, meaning house or home, and logos, whose one of its meaning is logic, hence the logic of the house. The logic of the house is a logic of separation, of division, of binary system. It creates something, object or place, and nothing outside it, void, nothingness. Inside and outside, me and the other, and by extension, nature and culture, feminine and masculine, capital and everything else that can be used for the construction of this house. To start thinking of decolonialism in relation to ecology, we need to consider all the concepts that derive from the logic of Western ecology and how this logic can be subverted and opposed. My research and art practice can be defined by or can be seen as a constant process of creation of practices that transgress the binaries and the boundaries that the logics of the house, i.e. ecology, creates. This transgression, a concept taken from Georges Bataille, Michel Foucault, Michel de Certeau, and in some way from Jacques Rancière, open new space in which we can imagine, communicate, and create different logic, different system, and other ways of being and coexisting. The series of transgressions in the form of art interventions, often participatory and collaborative, have also transgressed the boundaries of art practices themselves and of curatorial or exhibition practices, as I'll show soon. They are rooted in my activism, doctoral thesis in architecture and urban planning, and in curatorial studies, and much of it from lived experience. I will now take you to a quick journey that led me to the creation of the project Interweaving Spaces that will be exhibited here from this Saturday. not the same carpet, but a similar carpet recreated for an exhibition in the Architect's House in Tel Aviv, or actually in Jaffa. Jaffa was the most prominent Palestinian city, more important than Jerusalem or any other city in terms of culture and economy. And the Architect's House which is the house of the Architectural Association in Israel, is in a Palestinian home. I wouldn't exhibit there if it was taken by force, but in this case, it was bought. However, I wanted to keep or remind people the Palestinian present in the place. And with this work, I invited friends of mine who were part of a Palestinian DEPCA group. DEPCA is the Palestinian national dance, to create a flash mob in the gallery. So what you see here, or what you don't see here, is the moment before this action and the moment into the action where terrified visitors start, if not screaming, but being really agitated that you have a group dancing on one of the artworks. The cutouts that you can see were sprayed with adhesive, and when the work was taken after a month, the soil of the Palestinian dancers from their shoes was stuck to the gallery floor and imprinting the word home. The manager of the gallery wasn't very happy, promised not to do it here. Another exhibition, part of it was at the same exhibition, was Bibi House. Bibi is the nickname of Benjamin Netanyahu. He was already at that time prominent politician. The project began with my PhD, or before my PhD, with a journalistic campaign to rescue the remnants of a Palestinian village that the city of Tel Aviv was about to destroy, one of the last remnants. I won't tell the whole story of that, but where Tel Aviv is now, there were 8 Palestinian villages. This was the smallest one and was never documented, not even in Palestinian, by Palestinian scholars, because it has a very unique story. It's a story of actually Palestinians, Jews and Palestinians, Arabs, living together and even getting married. But it's also a story of dispossession, because the Palestinian family that was there ended up in exile or partly in Israel in social housing, and the family that became Jews through intermarriage and then got compensation. However, the history of the place was completely erased from that area. The lighthouse that was built there by a Palestinian man that was invited by the British to build it and operate it is now a cafe, and there is no sign in that cafe for the history of the place. After 10 years in England, I went back to Israel and became an artist in the community, or artist teacher. And I wrote a program about the history, the Palestinian history of Jaffa. And I started teaching it in Arab school, Arab Palestinian school. Now, you will ask, and rightly so, why Israeli Jewish need to teach Palestinian history to Palestinian kids. It was because none of the other teachers would do it, because they will risk their teaching job. They might lose it if they tell the Palestinian story of the city. So they took me. I did it as an artist. I didn't have much commitment to the education ministry. However, the project was done in collaboration with my students, architectural students, in academic school nearby, which wasn't easy. My students, all of them Jewish, were even afraid to meet the Palestinian kids. It took a lot of convincing. I had to change some of the curriculum to make it easier for them to read. But in the end, it's happened. Now, the program was not only in the class. We actually took the pupils around Jaffa. Partly, you can see this image, finding remnants of old houses that were destroyed from one of the adjacent villages. We draw houses in a parking lot. This particular one is where Maram, one of the students that you can see in the picture, her grandmother's house used to be there, and it was erased with no compensation. This is the school where the teaching took place. This used to be the school building. It has interesting history. The family that used to live there was one of the richest families in Jaffa, Palestinian family. They fled in '48, as most of the rich families, and not only the rich, from Palestine, and they were never let back. This building was confiscated by the state and then sold to Jewish hands. So the whole project, or big part of the project, was about the house, and to reimagine the return of this family into the house and the creation of back from a school into a family home with a small museum. And my students, the architecture students, you can see one of the projects, imagining it, is there. This is some of the projects with the kids. There was a photography project. At the end of the year, when I wanted to exhibit the project with the students and the pupils from both the academia and the primary school, the academia refused to do that. I said, as innocent as I can sound, that there might be demonstration outside the institute, nothing to do with me, of course. They refused to put the name of this institute, but they let some of the students to exhibit their work. Now, the title of the work of this exhibition that was advertised as part of a big kind of festival called The Houses from Within was Bibi's house. To the general public, Bibi's house is Benjamin Netanyahu's house. Benjamin Netanyahu, as the school, is placed in Gaza Street. This Gaza Street is in Jaffa. Benjamin Netanyahu's house is in Gaza Street in Jerusalem. Maybe people got confused, I don't know. But what happened in one weekend, we had hundreds, literally about 1,000 people coming with buses to see something to do with Benjamin Netanyahu. And they were marched through the school with kids, telling them about the Palestinian Nakba. It wasn't very comfortable in some cases, but this is education for you. I'm not going to continue talking about Palestinian matters here. I'm going to continue to another project that in a way generated from that carpet that I mentioned. If you want to see other works to do with my work on Palestinian issue, particularly the Nakba, you can find on my website. And this is an article in Mondowise on a big exhibition I had in London on this issue in 2019. One of the reasons, not necessarily the most important one, that I move into issues of, is it showing the main? Yeah. Moved into ecological issues, environmental issues, is also the great difficulties to get finance to deal with Palestinian history in art, at least in the UK. Of course, not to mention in Israel, which I couldn't stay in because after the project I showed you, Bibi's house, my contract with the university wasn't renewed. And as I continued to do more work on this issue, I got death threats, including from very important people in one of the main museums in Israel. So I went back to London. We are talking about a year before Brexit. UKIP started to gain more and more support. As a Jewish with mom Holocaust survivor, I got really nervous. So I was invited to exhibit in a gallery for a Christmas kind of exhibition where you sell work, you know, for people who have the money to buy art. And I created this piece. It's basically, I couldn't do anything on the floor. The gallery said, no way you're doing anything off the floor. Maybe they learned from the other exhibition. They say you can put it on the wall. So I found this doormat with the Union Jack, the British flag in gray colors. And I cut part of it. And instead of this part, I put various textiles of places that were colonized by the UK in the past. And you see this small box next to the main frame. I don't know how many are old here enough to remember this kind of things that you had in offices or on a wall. Sometimes you have a cigarette, sometimes you have condom, sometimes you have a sweet with the words break it in case of emergency or if you need. So in this case, it's the text was, you keep it just in case they win, playing on the word you keep. So I imagine that some family that has enough money to buy the artwork will buy it, and if UKIP win and they have guests that change their opinion from normal to something more fascistic, which I personally know a lot of people that it happened to them in Israel. They have these visitors, they break this small box, take these cuts that I cut out, place them back, created back the Union Jack, and when the guest goes, they can replace it again. It's just a Jewish paranoid kind of aesthetics. This grew up into a digital work, which then taken to various places, and ended up with the idea, quite fascistic idea, of having a national day for the flag, a flag national day. Now, I've been here on the 17th. What you're celebrating as National Day is completely different from what I thought National Day will be, or what my experience in Israel or in the UK. So this was science fiction for me. I was really, really envy to the level of I had tears when I saw how he celebrated. So this was march in the street, especially in demonstration for pre-migrants and refugees, but also in LGBT pride, and it's moved into this campaign against UKIP, inviting people with migrant or different sexualities or anybody that upset UKIP to have their image. You're wondering about this is my Chihuahua. You're wondering about Chihuahua and why it has a crown on his head. It's actually the Queen, or now the King, crown. So Nigel Farage, the head of UKIP, was visiting a pub at the time, and there was a woman breastfeeding her child. You know, it can't be anything more normal than that. But he told her, go to the corner, don't do it here, just go to the corner. So I said, if Nigel Farage had this reaction to something so natural and loving, maybe he will get heart attack when he see this Polish guy, who is obviously queer, about to breastfeed my Chihuahua, wearing the Queen crown. It didn't happen, unfortunately. The work was taken to the Turner Contemporary. It's one of the most important contemporary museums in the UK. The posters were laid really big outside, but the instruction was not to have any of the text that you saw before. Nothing to do with UKIP. People have to guess what it is about. And this is the limitation of sometimes exhibiting in institutes or in art places. You can't do everything you would like to do. There is so far that you can involve politics in the art, although for me, and I think for a lot of other people, there is no difference. Art is politics, and politics is sometimes art. It's included this setting and photo shoots. Now, this happened 3 days after Brexit. My partner told me I should reconsider Margate, when Turner Contemporary was the stronghold of UKIP. He told me I should go with bulletproof vest. And it wasn't a joke, because a few months before, they murdered Joe Cox, who was pro-refugees. Now, this flag is not a regular flag. It is nationalistic. I did wanted to have a flag office, and on the flag day, people will hold the flags. It will be on all over schools and institutes, etc. The difference between this flag and the regular flag, apart from, of course, the changes I did to this flag, is that this flag is ever-changing, is actually changing every year. So if you're a migrant and you become a UK citizen, and your textile design, traditional textile design, is not in this flag, which is a combination of a lot of traditional textile designs of communities in the UK, you send your design and the office include it in the flag. So it's kind of a flag against the idea of a flag. So a bit of trigger warning. This project went also online. There were some places, the project was touring the whole UK. I must say, that I'm really grateful to the Art Council and to the UK for enabling me and getting funding to actually do this work and show it all over the country. I did exhibit a version of that, but also a new version, which I'm not showing here, for the Israeli flag in Israel, but that involved a 1 month long of consultation with a lawyer to see if the museum is not going to be persecuted because showing the new version for the Israeli flag, which is also diverse and included reference to all of the religions in that country. But there were some places that it was too dangerous for me to show this flag in the UK. So I targeted some regions which were regions that got the most support for Brexit in this advertising campaign for the new flag. It's called the New Union flag. And then I got all of these comments and hundreds others, including reference to shooting, which the police had to investigate. And it's become even worse when Jeremy Corbyn, that at the time was the leader of the Labour Party, was being photoed with that flag. It's become much, much more vile. While he was taking selfies and being photographed with the flag, I was literally running away from the police in Israel because I did intervention that was deemed arrestable, and hide in a staircase. And then I see Jeremy Corbyn with the flag. It was nice. Sorry, there is some problem, I think, with the presentation here. I'll go further. Oh.
The idea is that every year there will be a flag day, and people will celebrate the flag, but the difference will be that every year communities who are joining
Okay, I told you that. You can send on my, I want to keep time for questions. The project involved exhibitions, involved marches, but it involved also workshops. And one of the workshops, this is not the first one, but was with a conversation with like these two ladies. Not this particular one, the workshop was already there. Just English people who told me that they are English, they eat English food, they are 100% English, they voted Brexit, etc. And I decided to investigate what is this Britishness or Englishness that they are talking about, and created a project, a workshop that called My Diversity Flag. It's very simple, it's a quiz, but instead of answering question, they use a sticker that symbolizes the answer. So for example, one of the questions is where your grandparents were born. So if it's English, in English, you just put an English sticker, which is Victoria Tartan. If it's mixed, they use another sticker, etc. It involves asking simple question, what you ate the other day. This question came actually from me seeing Nigel Farage and his friends sitting in a restaurant and eating Indian curry. Indian curry is the national food in the UK, the most favorable food, etc. And even these two nice lady from Cornell, they did this quiz, and you can see that it's quite diverse. You know, they have quite a lot of stickers there. One of the tricky questions that if somebody here knows, please raise your hand, was the general knowledge question, is English or not English? Is the word English is originated in the English language or it's come from another language? Anybody knows? Don't know, don't worry. I've been doing this workshop probably with 20,000 people by now. I had maybe 8 people knew the answer. It's to do with the education system. English, the word English comes from Anglo or Angler, which was a German tribe in northeast Germany that colonized the island. So the English are German, and they ended up doing Brexit. This doesn't make any sense, but this is the fact. And British, the word British comes from Britannia, Latin. So, yeah, you just don't know how things ending up. So the workshop was in schools, in gallery, community centers. They were interviewed with people, deciding, for example, which flag they choose, the New Union flag or the Union flag, and then explaining their choices. It was very interesting to take this project to north of England. In the south, ethnic communities or non-white, black and brown communities always choose the New Union flag. In northern England, where they are a minority, they felt that they need to show their Britishness as much as possible, and most of them chose the Union Jack. Although this Union Jack was on slave ships, and this flag was the flag that soldiers, that colonized half of the world were having. It's interesting, and there is also connection to communities in Israel, but I won't talk about it now. You can, if it be interesting, we'll ask. I did a version of it on the beach, so you can choose which towel to sit on and have the conversation, etc. Some more marches. In this case, it was nice. It's two refugees, one Palestinian, showing her Palestinian roots, and the other one is mixed, Moroccan and Palestinian, showing the textile from both cultures. After Brexit, the situation in England became really bad in terms of hate crime, and not only to do with ethnicity or migration or refugees, hate crime generally, for whatever reason. So disabled people got abused, LGBT and especially trans people got abused, etc. So I did this project called Protesting for Diversity with various communities, both go in public spaces and indoors. The project ended for now in this sculpture that you can see later in the next slide, a bit better than this, as part of the biggest public art project that was in the UK, of 100 sculptures like that, in relation to so slavery, colonialism, and imagining the future. So my design was chosen for imagining the future of the UK. This was one of the more optimistic moments of my life. It was in various places, including in Trafalgar Square, that you can see here. And I don't know how it's happened, but my sculpture was in the exact spot where my artist career began. I never studied fine art. I started to do art when I moved from Israel to the UK. I lost my language. I couldn't continue working in journalism. And usually I was a campaigner journalist, so things make me angry. I wrote about them. When that was lost, I formed a collective called Transgressive Architecture to do also with my PhD thesis that intervene in public spaces that were socially cleansed or about to be cleansed from undesirable communities. Homeless people, street artists, gay cruisers, there is a whole list. In Trafalgar Square, in this place, which is also one of the most kind of colonial spaces in the UK with the Nelson statue in it, was cleansed from the pigeons, which takes us back to ecology. Pigeons were the attraction of this square for at least tens, if not hundreds of years. You have photos, I don't include them here, of people feeding the pigeons in various occasions, but the city decided that they don't want pigeons anymore. So it started by taking the pigeon food stall that was there and then putting wardens, guards telling you not to feed the pigeon, although it was still legal, and then creating a law against it. So I intervened in the square in the process that it was still legal, but there were guards telling you not to do it. So we came to the square, and where the food stall for the pigeon used to be, we started to write with bed sheets, which we call the bad sheets. They were printed with street activities, very simple, look like maybe gravestones or a sleeping bag. We started to write with these sheets the word void where the food stall was. After a few moments, the guards came and tell us we need to stop and go home. I'm Israeli, we don't really, if people telling us no, it doesn't really communicating. So we left it and we continued. And then the guards confiscated the artwork. They took it. By chance, we had 50 kilos of pigeon food. And instead of using the bed sheets, we used the pigeon food to write the word void. And then we had amazing collaboration with hundreds of pigeons that did pigeon graffiti all over the square. It was difficult to read void in it. They were a bit creative, but it was a really nice collaboration. Which give us, was the time? Okay, to the project that's going to be exhibit here. This project was generated by the flag that symbolized diversity. I was invited by organization in the UK that was documenting the kelp forests that started to grow back in the area of Sussex. It's, if you know, Brighton, opposite there. The kelp forest, we used to have a lot of kelp forests there. They were destroyed completely by trawlers, this big fishing that scrape the ground of the sea, of the ocean, and take everything and destroy everything in the wake. This was banned in the late 90s, and since then the kelp started to grow back. And they were documenting it. There was a conference about the kelp forest. The thing is that the organizers said that the conference, all of the people in the conference, are 99% will be white people, and they needed diversity. So they wanted to, show some diversity in their organization, in the conference, which reminds me, I mentioned that my name is Gil Mualem-Doron. Until I was a journalist, it was Gil Doron. But then I started to write about ecology and urban planning. And because it's so, at least at the time, but I think it's still now so white profession, I put Mualem back, the Arabic name, back into my family name to show that you have Arab Jew or Eastern Jew actually writing about ecology. So this is kind of a circle going back to that. And I created an installation, small scale. You don't see it here, a bit of it, where I looked at textile patterns from various areas around the world that have kelp forests. So from California to South Africa to Scandinavia, North Sea, England, Scotland, etc., and design these textiles, mashing up together, interweaving all of these textiles, which for me was also a way to say that when you are in the sea, we are all connected. You step into the sea here, the water from here will end up in far, far away and touch some other person. So this was that. There were other themes in this exhibition. So it's recreated as a kelp forest with 100 and something textile with special lighting. There is a film. The core of the film, which is part of the installation, is Mia Muteli, the Barbadian Prime Minister, speech at COP26, which was amazing and put tears in the eyes of politicians. Now, for politicians to cry, you know, unless it's during election and they're holding a baby, it's a big achievement, and she succeeded to do that. Unfortunately, as you all know, it didn't really help much in terms of reductions of emission from fossil fuels. We are on the way, but way long way before achieving the goals of COP26 or the Paris Agreement. Her speech was recreated as a spoken words, and it's with that, with music, including rave music. The museum where it was exhibited had the first rave party ever. And it was important for me that the museum will have a rave party, because rave party is part of my growing as a young man. And it's to do also with protest, which I will show in a second. Before I'll go to the rave party, I'm not going to dance, don't be afraid. Before I'm going to the rave party, this is other work that will be in the exhibition. It's called Decolonizing. I happened to be in Thessaloniki and met this guy who was trying to escape drafting to the army. I won't go with the story, but next to Thessaloniki, there is a shipwreck, quite famous one, the shipwreck of Epithemi, if I pronounce it well. Probably, is it? Yeah. This ship arrived to the beach, that beach in 1971. This beach is a unique ecosystem with sand dunes, with biodiversity that you can't find anywhere else in Greece. It was about to be transformed by the fascist regime, the junta, that was in Greece in the 60s and up to, I think, 71 or 72, if I'm correct. The junta wanted to change this landscape into agricultural land. Now, it's a fascist regime, you can't oppose them. So, but what happened when the ship came with all of the soil and the seeds and about to land there, it was broken. Nobody knows why. And the soil, seeds, etc., they were left, and the project was cancelled. It never happened. Till today, it's a beautiful sandy area, and it's become kind of a tourist attraction. Now, nobody knew why it happened, and what this abstract film and photography shoot in the shipwreck imagined that it was a siren, the Greek myth of the siren. It was a siren that actually, the only creature that could actually oppose the fascistic regime, sang to the sailor and sank the ship. This is 2000, the last Reclaim the Street event in London. Reclaim the Street was a global movement, very big, like Extinction Rebellion in the late 90s, early 2000. It was like Extinction Rebellion, opposed by politicians, and in the end really cut down through legislation and new police tactics. This was the last big rave. What was unique with Reclaim the Street and inspired my work from the beginning is that when the police came, at least to the first events, they didn't call it demonstration events, the protesters said that this is not a demonstration. this is a party, so the police couldn't arrest them. It took a few years for the law to change, to arrest people who are actually partying in the streets. You can see the image here from that. Shortly after, I went to LA and was part of another Reclaim the Street party in the middle of LA, which was surreal, because Reclaim the Street was a movement particularly against the use of car. And you know LA tried to be there without a car. But here you go. But in LA, it was quite different. The police was different. Shortly after what you see here, we had to escape. And the place that gave us a shelter not far from there, so we can hide and not be arrested, was an art gallery. So sometimes when you can't do things in the streets, you do it in the museum, you do it in gallery. It's not always the same effect. Sometimes it's better, sometimes it's worse. But what I would like to communicate or advocate for is that in these difficult times, and I'm experiencing both of my countries, sometimes art institutes need to be this safe place. Thank you very much.
All right, I need to take a deep breath. Gil, thank you so much for this very engaging, personal, and important talk that you've shared with us, especially on this particular day when Norway has recognized Palestine as an independent state. And yes, and Israel has recalled their ambassadors. I would encourage everyone inspired by Gil's very diverse art practice, also working with public engagement, to take a moment and think about if there's anything you would like to ask about, reflect upon together with us, or if you want to share any ideas that you have thought about during this talk. The table is open, as we say in Norway, and I have a microphone, and I'm happy to walk around, and if anyone would like to say something. Yes.
Yeah, thanks. So I wasn't here for the start because I had a class to attend to, but I was wondering about the Union Jack project. How many years has that been going on? I didn't catch the start.
Just about a year before Brexit, so
Okay.
From end of 2014.
So during from that project started until now, have you seen any big changes in sentiment in different parts of the UK if you have been doing it like continuously the last years? Has there been because what we see is the divide is growing bigger between the groups and it's always polarizing. Have you seen the same thing in the reactions to this work?
It has been more polarized, it's true, but it's also really depend on the geographical area. This is that. The main project, the national tour was 2017. So I've been doing it on and off in some smaller places, etc. I'm still being invited to show this project. So there is a recognition, that it's important and it does something. But, it's difficult to to answer it accurately, it could be that for the next installation of this project that will be in the autumn, I might redo the online campaign on Facebook, revisit the places that I targeted the last time, and see what the reaction is. But I don't have opinion poll office to run something like that. So it's not scientific, but there is division, and of course with the current government and some of the ministers and the way they talk, it's frightening. But this project, as amazing it is, 8 years, went to a lot of places a failure because it didn't arrive to the parliament yet, and there was no vote on changing the Union Jack. I haven't found a crazy enough member of parliament to take it in and test it actually there.
Yeah, hi. It brings up a lot of emotions to hear you, and I just wanted to express my gratitude for your existence and your expression. It deeply inspires me and moves me, and I wanted to share this 17th of May, what an honor it was to put on my grandmother's bunad with the Palestinian and Arab kafka and march together with others, and I received only positive feedback for that, and reminding that that costume is also a long political tradition. Right now I just wanted to, because I need to digest, but we are having this Palestinian camp outside, and I wanted to invite you for a cup of tea if you have the time, and also if others want to continue a conversation and reflection session. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll be glad to. Thanks.
Are there any other ideas that people want to share? In that case, maybe I would ask you if it's, we talked about reimagining other narratives perhaps, or other ideas of future. Maybe, Gil, if it's possible to reflect maybe upon the idea of fluidity, or these fluid oceanic spaces, if they can inspire some, or how they have inspired reimaginative ideas for you personally, or if there is anything that you can share with us that you have been reflecting upon when engaging with the public in your artwork, that can be, that you can share with us.
Thanks. Well, issues of fluidity, literally, or on a physical sense of engaging with water, is really important part of my work. I looked at it with intervening spaces of the kelp, but also with the physicality of actually touching other people through water. It goes against, in a way, I can read in different ways, against many religious practices, including Judaism, where water is used for purification. So there is the notion of there's something pure and there's something impure when you go into the water, especially females, in case of Judaism, have to go to the water after the end of the period and before getting married, but also men do it. And for me, water is I won't call contamination, especially when I'm staying in a place which is advocating ecology, but it is connecting people. You know, the sea is literally connecting people. So for me, it's a great metaphor. This is one aspect. I have another project that actually linked to my mom's side family roots. She's from Bulgaria, but the family originated in Spain and had to live during the Inquisition time. And now I know it because my grandmother used to speak Ladino. Ladino, it is not pure language, the same like Yiddish, it's not pure language. It's a mix of Hebrew and German, or the case of Ladino, mixture of Spanish and Hebrew. And when I was at the artist residency in Catalonia, I was drawn into these purification places that sometimes in the synagogue, sometimes out, and imagine that if I retouch the water, I retouch the past. It's a past of deportation, it's a past that now Palestinians feeling the same. I don't know what can comfort them when they are in exile. But if Jewish people until today are traumatized by that, it's just showing you until when, you know, it's never ending. And I was interested in this kind of traumatic event in relation to water because they are kind of pseudo-scientific. They did some experiments about water actually containing memory. It's called water memory. It's the basis of homopathia. So it's quite abstract, but it is touch upon feelings, even if scientifically it's you know, can't prove. So yeah, this is some of the aspects that I'm touching when I'm talking about fluidity and water. The last part, which is also important and was at the part of the triggers of creating this immersive installation, imitating kelp forests, is the relation of water or and mental health and well-being. You have much research now done about the benefit of blue spaces, and in Norway you have a lot of them, and I succeed to enjoy some of them. It just, I think there are proof that being near water or immersing in water has enormous benefits for well-being.
Thank you so much, Gil. With ending the conversation with the idea of water as a container of our shared stories and histories, and transmitter and binder of everything that unfolds us together, in a sense. Deep thanks. This will resonate with me and with us for a long time. And thanks to everyone who came and shared your presence here. You are very welcome to come to the exhibition opening on Saturday at 12. And thank you so much for coming for this artist talk.
Thank you.